reminder that the Democrat Party and woke corporations think black people and brown people are too stupid or too helpless to have a photo ID to vote. Hello once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Angela Box. You're watching Angela's Soapbox, where I always say what you were thinking. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, liking or rumbling this video, commenting on this video, and of course, sharing this video, especially with your filthy leftist friends, because they truly hate my guts. And for me, that's a badge of honor. Okay, say something nice. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Yeah, that's right, I said it. You know, we knew this day would come where Pope Francis was going to exit his mortal coil, or shuffle off his mortal coil, and this time has now passed. It was interesting, though, that he was able to say Easter Mass at the Vatican and then passed away either Easter evening or Easter Monday, depending on what time of day it was in Italy when this all went down. But, you know, people are like, oh, Pope Francis, he was so great. I'm like, no, Pope Francis was not great. And, you know, this idea that we must eulogize people and pretend that as they die that we're going to just forget all the crap that they did, like they did when Sheila Jackson Lee died. And y'all, in Houston, they are literally at the Bush airport. Don't even get me started. I haven't flown since before COVID, okay? I think the last time I flew was 2019. Like, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not interested. But I'll tell you right now, if I can avoid Intercontinental, aka Bush Airport, and go to Hobby, I will be doing so. Because at Intercontinental, aka Bush Airport, they are dedicating an entire wing or a concourse to Sheila Jackson Lee. It's like, does everyone forget what a garbage human this woman was? And similarly, when people die, it's like, okay, we have to be nice for a minute. It's like, fine, be nice. They're never nice about conservatives when they die, though. It's you know, it's a free-for-all when a conservative dies. And you could talk about, you know, when Margaret Thatcher died, for example, every leftist on planet Earth was, you know, celebrating and saying the most ghoulish things about this woman. The first female prime minister of the UK, on par with Reagan in her significance of the 80s, but sure, she was a piece of crap, and let's take a dump on her. But not so when a leftist dies, ladies and gentlemen. So Pope Francis is simply the latest leftist who we're just supposed to forget what a garbage communist globalist person he was. And you know what? I'm not here to disabuse you of that notion. If you want to go and be like, oh my God, Pope Francis, don't say anything bad about him because he died, trust me when I tell you, when I pass away, I'm sure there will be plenty of people that be like, oh, thank God, ding dong, the witch is dead, when they hear I've shuffled off my mortal coil. But I'm going to go through why it's important not to sugarcoat who Pope Francis was, because as a born and raised Catholic, like, this is the guy that really made me turn away from the church. And by that I mean, I turned away from the church. I went to church because my mother went to church for a very long time. As a family, we had a situation. I think I made a video about this. I certainly wrote about it in an old blog post if you want to go find it. But there was a priest. I don't want to say his name because I don't care. His name was Ben Zeller from Oklahoma City. Just a piece of shit human being, okay? He basically took this beloved neighborhood parish, St. Pat's in Oklahoma City, and completely destroyed it because he was trying to diddle the kids, and he was embezzling money from the roof fund, and he was, you know, having his gay lover living at the rectory, and he was embezzling communion wine and having boys over to the house, like all the things you can possibly imagine, okay? And people covered for him, and people covered it up, and in the meantime, people were going to my late mother, and being like, oh my God, Ben is doing this, Ben is doing that. And so she finally goes to the Archbishop, a guy named Charles Salatka, telling on him too, and in Oklahoma City Diocese, and she had nobody going with her. She had no support, and she had to go in there and basically tell all these things about what was going on at St. Pat's, which is her observations and also what people had told her. And what do you think happened, ladies and gentlemen? Was Ben Zeller run out on a rail? No, of course not. Ben Zeller got up there at 5 o'clock Mass that weekend and basically talked about what garbage humans my mother and my sister and me were. And we never went back to that parish. And he destroyed it. He absolutely destroyed that church. And so, like, when it all came out about him, a few years ago that, yeah, he was diddling kids, and the archdiocese just kept moving. He was one of these priests that they just kept moving around, okay? And this is the reason that films like Spotlight are so important, and I highly recommend you watch Spotlight, especially if you're a Catholic. We cannot lie about the past of our church, okay? We need to be honest about things. But that has really nothing to do with Francis. The fact that I'm bringing this up is because this guy, Ben Zeller, huge leftist. I don't know if he's still alive. I don't care if he's alive or dead. He got excommunicated. He got defrocked. Like, finally, they picked up on what this guy was, and they exited him out of the Catholic Church. But I think, like, I remember going on his Facebook or something, finding a Facebook post. Like, he's a huge leftist. Like, of course. And this brings me into Pope Francis. Pope Francis was a communist. Pope Francis was raised in Argentina as a communist. And, you know, the only thing that Francis was good about, I think, was abortion. But he wasn't against abortion because it was a taking of a human life. He basically was like, we need to have more Catholics, which is fine. Like, if that's how you want to go about it, that's cool. But, like, the reason we are against abortion is because it's taking of God's human life. And he, to be fair, he was good on that. But everything else he, like, sucked about. Like, he talked about climate change, and he talked about economic justice and social justice and all this garbage that the church has embraced over the past few decades. This not prosperity gospel. That's the Baptist. I'm talking about, like, the what's the word I'm looking for? Something Christianity. I can't think of it. But basically social justice warrioring it. And, you know, there's something to be said about growing the church and growing the church from where we are. But the things that Pope Francis would do, encouraging illegal immigration, saying, you know, there's no such thing as countries, borders are racist, and we need to just, you know, eliminate borders. And he was like a huge COVID person, and he just sucked, okay? He sucked. Can we keep it 100 here? And I'm here to keep it 100 about this guy. And am I sad he's dead? No. I don't know where his soul is right now. That is between him and the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But I think that going forward, the church, if they want to carve back any of the prestige it once had, they need to be putting together a panel of archbishops and cardinals to be pope that are conservative, okay? And there's only one person on the list so far that looks like he's conservative. I don't want to go through this list that Newsweek sent out. It doesn't matter. There's a Filipino guy, there's an African guy, there's an Italian guy, and there's I think 2 Italians and then one guy from Hungary. Now, when I read that there was a guy from Hungary on that list, and of course they were like, oh, this guy, he's going to be, if he's elected pope, and it's like a 7-1 odds, like he's not going to be elected pope, but we wish. Anyone says Hungary, I'm like, yes. If it's a Viktor Orban as a priest, I'm into it. But of course they're like, no, you know, if this guy's elected, it'll just roll back all the progressive reforms that Pope Francis did, and if any of these other people are put in, why, it would signal that the church is really wanting to modernize and wanting to continue on the legacy of Francis, which again was globalism and communism and, you know, social justice warrior do-goodism. And I'm not here for it. I want us to go back to the idea that when someone would call to get an exorcism, who would they call? They call a Catholic priest, because the church should not be going with the wind. It should not be going with what's fads, what's popular now. It should be going back to what is economically sound. And look, my husband and I, we do not attend a Catholic church. We go to a church that's considered non-denominational. It's more of a Bible study type of church. And is it totally my cup of tea? No, but I go because I love my husband. And I will say this, the sermons that I miss the traditional aspects of the Catholic Church. I miss the music and I miss the readings, but I don't miss the constant browbeating that leftist priests have done in the last few decades. And I mean, I've left churches, many churches, because the priests are just like, I'm just like, no, he's a leftist. Like, I'm not here for it. And I wish if we can get a pope back to being a traditionalist, you know, the left is going to freak out about it, saying that this is, you know, taking us backwards by decades. I wish that we could go back to Pope John Paul II and even Benedict. Like, Francis was such a what's the word I'm looking for? Just a negation of everything that Benedict and Pope John Paul II were. It would be nice to get back to those people, because if you'll remember, and those of us who are Catholic will know, that Saint Pope John Paul now, he was canonized along with Mother Teresa real quick, and you have to have 3 miracles attributed to you. And so there were 3 verified miracles attributed to both him and Mother Teresa real fast, and they were able to get that sanctification. And it's like, again, do you want to go back to that? Were those people that's how good they were, that we saw a dove? Remember the wonderful picture of Pope John Paul having a dove of peace on his shoulder? Like, that's what I want to get back to. A pope that understands what globalism is. A pope that understands that, no, we shouldn't be communists, okay? We should not want communism to spread around the globe. It's a destructive force in our world, and we should not want that. Not a pope that embraces that garbage. Not a pope that, cafeteria Catholics his way through things. Now, granted, I was a cafeteria Catholic, like 100%. This is a kind of a reason I'm not really practicing anymore, because it's like I was, kind of a hypocrite about things. But I want to be led by someone who has some backbone about things, and who isn't afraid to tell the truth about what the church stands for. And frankly, I just don't think Francis ain't it. Francis wasn't it. So it's going to be very interesting to see the conclave that goes on, that we see the black smoke and then the white smoke. And if you've seen that stupid movie Conclave, which I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but it was dumb. Actually, I am going to spoil it. It was like some intersex person that ended up being Pope, of course. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see. If you're Catholic, leave a comment. And what do you think about Francis passing? And are you hopeful that we can sort of get back to normsies in the Catholic Church, where we, get rid of the pedophiles and get back to actual scripture and doctrine that worked for thousands of years? Or are you wanting it more a Reformation-minded church? There's a few things. Could priests get married? I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world, okay? I'm not for women priests, but I don't think men should have to be celibate, choose either celibacy or the church, or choose married life or the church. I think there's a way to balance that out, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bad Catholic. I don't know. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you in the next one. I will be done. Bye.